when I first decided to go to film school, I looked at like the filmmakers who were making films at that time. And during that time, it was like a huge, like that was the indie boom, right? Like you had people like Wes Anderson, Kevin Smith, P.T. Anderson, Quentin Tarantino, who all those dudes like had films in Sundance, right? And so even though it wasn't very realistic, my plan was to make a short film that gets into Sundance and then make a feature version of it, you know? And so I had Der Ostwind, the feature, like all planned out and ready to write. And I think I was even writing it at that point. So when somebody said, hey, what do you want to do next? I can say, I want to do a feature length version of this. And you can see what it's going to look like and all this stuff. The reason why that didn't work, as far as I can tell, is two reasons. And one is that whole indie thing had kind of was drying up around that time. You know, like that was when we first started getting into our fixation with franchises. Like The Matrix was like pumping out, you know, sequels and stuff. And I think like the people that like Kevin Smith and Wes Anderson, who made shorts and features and, you know, got them and like started their careers off of Sundance, they weren't, I think it would be really hard for those people to do that now, or, you know, by the time we were there. And so it's interesting because you go and you talk to film students now, and like half of them want to be YouTubers, you know, like that's what their career path is. And again, like YouTube wasn't around, and even now people are like, do you ever think about doing YouTube? I'm like, I've never put a lot of thought into it because I don't know how that works. Like when I plotted my course, I was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, you know, like I'm gonna get Sundance and then I'm gonna get this, you know, thing. And so, but I had Der Ostwind written, and I sent it out. And the other thing was that a lot of people were like hesitant because they were like, I don't know if people want to see like a World War I movie, you know. And I was like, they do, I know they do, you know. Like I think it's like, I don't want to believe that there's a certain subject or genre that wouldn't be interesting to people if it was done right. And you know, around that time there were a couple World War I movies that came out that were kind of flopped, and they were bad. Like I'd seen them. Like I'm a big World War I buff. I'd run out there and I'd watch them, and I'm like, oh, like, you know, this is not done well. And so that was kind of my thing. I think the project that I took them was a bigger project. If I had like a really small indie project, but in that point in my life, I wasn't writing that stuff, you know. Like I could say like, oh, I wished I would have written it, but I wasn't in that place. You know, I was writing. It took me a while to figure out how to write smaller budget stuff that was more manageable to do where I'm at. At that time, I was just like, I'm going to sell this, you know. But like it was like a VFX heavy film like Der Ostwind would be like, you know, it was right around that time 500 came out, and it would be like that. It would have been like that, you know, with that kind of budget and that kind of VFX. And so, yeah, and like again, they don't just hand that kind of budget to a kid right out of school who just made a short film. That, you know, it's like you still got to work up to it still, I think. So that was kind of where I think my plan is. But you know, like I just kept on going and got other jobs, and you know, like it wasn't like this huge step over Sundance. You know, like Sundance definitely helped me. Like it definitely got me more work, and then, you know, I got a manager, and all these things kind of sent me down this path. But it wasn't like the big step that I saw like these other filmmakers who were making films, you know, 10 years earlier. They were making these huge, gigantic steps forward. And I realized that that's in this current thing, you know, where we have giant franchises and they don't hand budgets to people like that very as openly as they did in the past. So of all my projects, I would if somebody came in and was like, I will write you a check to do one of your projects, I'd pick Der Ostwind faster than anything else because I love it. It's just very, very dear to my heart. but I still like, I know now that I can't go pitch that, right? Like I have smaller projects and I'm like, if I can get this one done, then I can do this one. And if I get this one done, then I can do DeRoswin. Like I have to, I see that now, like I have to work up to it.